Welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're very excited to talk about customer experience with David Anderson. So David, thank you very much for coming in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and your company?
Ciaran, very glad to be here, and it's taken a long time for this to actually happen, but we're here now. Ciaran, my background is, I left school, I was very lucky to have a scholarship to go to sea with P&O Cruises, and they had a division which looked after education, and I got a chance to do a scholarship to go to sea on hospitality management, and I got the chance to travel the world, see around the world and get paid for it and have a good time along the way. And it was a great opportunity, but it didn't work out as a career, and the biggest problem was the Falklands War, and the ship was requisitioned for the Falklands War, and that was the end of that. And really there was no end for me in that side, so I came back to Northern Ireland and I had a few jobs here and there, did some good jobs, but really I settled career-wise in the pharmaceutical industry. And I worked predominantly at the outset for a division of what is now Pfizer. And I worked in what would be consumer medicines. And I was there for almost 10 years. And then I made the move from Pfizer to a company called UCB, which is United Chemicals of Belgium. And the big transition of that was, it was from a consumer division to an ethical end. And very, very rarely is that transition made, because people have a fear of what the ethical end actually means. And the only real consequence is you've got to do exams. And when you're in a sequence of doing exams, and they're pharmaceutical exams, they can be difficult. And it's called the ABPI. Anyway, I passed my ABPI exam. My claim to fame in that is I did my part 2 in Starbucks in Gatwick Airport, because I missed the actual exam because of holidays, and I wanted to get it done and dusted and put to bed. And the ABPI were very obliging and met me in Gatwick, and we sat in Starbucks. And as I did the paper, I handed it over to the guy who was there. He marked it and told me I'd passed or failed. So I passed on the day, and that was me qualified. And my role in UCB evolved from initially being a medical rep through to being the company manager for the critical care team. And the critical care team looked after a series of serious illnesses, mainly heart attack or anaphylactic reaction. And it was a fantastic job, fantastic role. And it came to an abrupt end with redundancy through a twist of fate which is beyond my control, and that was the product we had was made in California, and UCB were moving production to Belgium, and in doing so they were changing the presentation of the pack, and the Irish Medicines Board rejected the change in the pack presentation, and unfortunately my team got made redundant. I got made redundant after that, and that was the end of my career at UCB, and it was just the way it happened was bizarre, out of my control, but a twist of fate. And I did some freelance consulting work in pharmaceuticals for a couple of years after that, but there was never really the opportunity to get back in properly. And bizarrely, I saw an advert in Pharma Times magazine for a franchise for a company called Insight6. And I read the advert and I was a bit skeptical about it. And then I put the magazine in the recycle bin, and then read the advert again and went on their website and went, these guys are serious. And that began a process of research and understanding the marketplace, speaking to Insight6, taking it forward with them. And 5-6 months later, I bought the franchise for Northern Ireland. And that's over six years ago now. And it has moved on rapidly, and the market has changed rapidly as well, as we have expanded our portfolio and expanded our franchise network.
Incredible. Sounds amazing. What a journey, and you've got great background in what's happening now as well. But what is Insight6, and what is the company?
Insight6 formed in Australia. The company started in Australia, in Perth in Australia, over 20 years ago by a chap called Jonathan Winchester. And Jonathan then brought the business into the UK 13 years ago. And 1 year in to the UK, they franchised the business. And they went from one franchisee in Sussex through to having 22 today. And that includes myself in Northern Ireland and a colleague in Dublin. So we do cover the UK and Ireland, and we perceive ourselves to be customer experience specialists. So we do highlight and focus on customer experience, where businesses can get better and improve by adopting some very simple processes.
Yes, and customer experience today, critical. I know we've met a few years ago, and it was important then, but I'm just thinking how it's multiplied in importance over the last couple of years, and today, oh my word.
Do you know, I saw a video last night on LinkedIn of Jeff Bezos from Amazon in 1999 on CNBC, being interviewed about his business. And they weren't a small business at that time either. They had 3,000 staff, he said. So Amazon were well established. His focus was one thing and one thing only: customer experience from start to end. That's all he focused on. And the interview would last 7 minutes, and it was customer experience was his sole focus.
Yes, and for business owners, I'm thinking myself, it's scary because you're so focused on the operation and the day-to-day, moving the nuts and bolts around, yes, and you focus on customer experience maybe at certain points, but to be able to do it from start to finish, but it is the right way.
Customer experience is the start to finish process. Customer service is very much a singular unit of walking into a shop to buy a product. You get customer service or you don't get customer service. Customer experience is the entire chain. It maybe starts at your research. What's the company's website like? What are their phone handling skills like? What are they like when I approach them? What are they like at the customer service point of actually selling to me? What's the follow-up like?
Yes, and so customer experience is every single touch point.
Every single touch point in the entire process. But it's not just that, it's the repeat mechanism. Because when you get your customer experience right, the one thing you generate from that there is brand loyalty. People will come back to you again and again and again.
Yes, and if people don't have or haven't thought of this in their business at the moment, is it something that's easy to put in place, or it's a continuous improvement all the time?
You can get to a point where you're maintaining what you do to a certain standard. Do Amazon get any better at what they do? They've got to a point where they're good. They probably do get a bit better because they bring in new products, but their continuity of supply chain and brands and their website doesn't really change an awful lot. And therefore brands can get to a point where they're very comfortable at what they're doing and they're knowing they're doing it right. And the only way to know you're doing it right is to measure it.
And this is the key point.
Correct.
Amazing. And we all think, we're doing good service. Of course, no one's complaining, so it's good. But your key point and focus is that we need to measure.
You need to measure. There's a very interesting stat of a conference at the NEC in Birmingham where the speaker was a customer experience specialist, and he asked the audience how many people believe they deliver superior customer experience, and 80% of the hands went up. What they didn't know was he actually had researched their clients and asked them, do you get a good customer experience from these companies? And the genuine answer was 8%. If you don't measure your customer experience, you don't know how good you are.
Shocking. And and how do you even start if you're a retailer?
There are various mechanisms in measuring customer experience. Our benchmark we go back to in a very simple way is a customer experience measurement program, where we sit down with a client, agree a process, and we then start measuring how they handle. And that could be a case of how do they handle their website inquiries, how do they handle phone inquiries, do they return phone calls, or how do they treat customers at the cold face. And effectively, it could be perceived as mystery shopping. Those aren't two words we choose to use right now. And it very much, we look at customer experience measurement as our benchmark. And then what we do is that we identify the shortfalls. And you won't identify a shortfall in one go. It takes a minimum of 3 measurements to give you a baseline of knowing where the issues actually lie. And we identify that. And very much from that, we identify training needs. And it's important when companies do train on customer experience that they identify what the shortfalls are. The one thing that it does annoy me when I hear companies talk about customer service training, it's just generic, it's bland, it's nondescript. But by measuring, first of all, to identify the shortfalls, you can be bespoke and train in a bespoke way. And that's one of the things that we can add in to our package of service offerings.
Incredible. So you would see customer experience as critically important then?
Absolutely.
And do you think today, is it getting more important every year? Or are customers more demanding?
I think as we move forward, we're still in the middle of COVID-19 right now, hopefully we'll start to see some changes in the marketplace and people get back to normality by the middle of next year. To see businesses grow and prosper, they've got to focus on customer experience as one of their ways out of this mess.
And is it customer experience important for every business?
Without a doubt. And it doesn't matter whether they're online, whether they just do tele-sales, or whether it's actually face-to-face sales. And that could be ordering something on a website. We can measure that. How good is the actual website? How compliant is it? How user-friendly is the website? Right? And you can do it over the phone, you can do it face-to-face. We've just done a most interesting exercise, which we kicked off in May, June of this year, where we began measuring the application process to go to university. Now, we were at a point during COVID-19 where we had to get new exercises to keep ourselves active and doing things. So 34 colleges and universities we focused on across the UK, and we had fictional applications to see how useful or how good they were at managing that application process, and right the way through to being offered a place at university. And bizarrely, and I'm off the top of my head, we've only released the actual statistics in the past couple of days, 14% of those never even received never received a acknowledgement of their application. How does that make them feel at that point in time? They've applied for a course to take a degree in whatever degree it is, and they haven't even been acknowledged. So that was purely done over the phone and over the web. So it can be done anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's scary when you say that. Have you seen, we're talking a few retail and we're talking about universities. Have you seen any industries that are really, really good, or is it certain companies in certain industries that tend to be good?
The companies that are good are the ones that measure it continually. They all think they're good. I spoke to a gentleman in Belfast a few years ago. He'll remain nameless. He told me he knows his customer service is good. And I said, how do you know? He says, I just know. To which I said, you know nothing. And he asked me to leave his premises at that point in time. But do you know what? Did I want to work with him? Probably not at that point either.
Yeah.
He was so emphatic that his customer service was good, but he had no inclination of how good it was.
Yeah.
So he probably was a genuine 8%er.
Yeah, and this is the scary thing, as you say, it's not a problem until it's a real problem, and
Correct.
people don't realise. Insight6 have a process then that people can go through, or you go through as a business?
Yeah, we do indeed. We like the I of Insight, and we have a 6-step process aligned to the I6. And the first one is to inspire the people to change. The second one is to identify what the needs are of what their business is having a shortfall in. We illustrate how we can help them. It's number 3. And then we can instruct and mentor their staff to perform better as we go forward. The 5th one is to measure and test and to refine the testing to make sure they are getting it right, and tweak what we do for them to make sure we're getting it and stretching them as far as we can stretch them. And finally, that leads to improvement. And if they don't improve in that process, then they're probably working with the wrong company. But we've never had anybody walk away from us yet. And we actually have a guarantee in place, and our guarantee is, you don't like what we do, we won't. Don't pay us.
Incredible. That's a firm guarantee. Amazing. So it really is measure, identify the problems, train,
correct,
measure again,
it's
and continue.
It's an ongoing cycle. So it's the same way as customer experience. It's a full circle that you close. So it has to be an ongoing process of that with the staff too.
Amazing. And you've probably already mentioned it. I know I'm just being very clear on this one. So the main mistake you see businesses do around customer experience is that they don't measure.
Don't measure.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Measurement is the key. I think the American industrialist Peter Drucker once said, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. That's very true.
Amazing. And again, we know, especially these days, everyone's looking at their finances, the bottom line, the numbers.
Yes.
But on KPIs, customer experience should be there no matter what.
Absolutely. We actually do, what we do within our measurement, we agree a set of KPIs with our clients, and we measure those with weighted value. So I've actually got a client in Northern Ireland, and they're a retailer, and they have a deli counter, and they have a score of 40 as a KPI against the importance of a sample being handed over to the customer. Now, normally a benchmark figure for measurement is 1. You might get up to a 5 at times. They have a 40. That's the importance they put on the engagement of the staff offering a sample at the deli counter.
Yes.
And that's one of their KPIs. And we have a list of over 100 KPIs that we'll measure against and guide people through.
Wow. So it seems to be really strategic then in what you're focused on. So I guess this retailer's focused on that because they know if they get that right, the chance of converting into a sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a hotel group I work with, and they have, for example, one of the KPIs is FF. They've all got abbreviations. FF is food facts, and that is, do the staff ask, have you any allergies? Simple question to ask. Anybody in the party got any allergies? And that's identified as a KPI with food facts.
And again, something critically important
Correct.
experience.
And so simple to do as well.
So training then of the team, because it's great that we're talking about it, but I'm thinking of the team, the people on the shop floor or whoever's dealing with the customers. So training then is...
Training is bespoke, because what we try and do is identify the key areas of where the shortfalls are. It's to take our report. We give an action plan with every report, and the action plan highlights the shortfalls. And once we've got a baseline of a minimum 3 reports, we can then build a training course around what those shortfalls are and train in a bespoke way.
Wow, amazing. And have you seen much adoption? We talked briefly about COVID-19. We don't want to talk about too much. Have you seen businesses then change a lot with COVID-19 and yourselves even?
Do you know, the biggest challenge businesses face today with COVID, not just, they face a challenge in loss of business or being closed because of restrictions, but probably one of the biggest challenges they face is both their staff and customers wearing masks. Because body language and tone of voice are so important in that sales process and that engagement process. And when that breaks down, it makes life for both the customer and the shop staff much more difficult. I going back before face masks became compulsory, I was going into a filling station one day and the man ahead of me was queuing and the girl called him in, but she had a face mask on and he couldn't hear her or couldn't make her out. And he said, "What did you say to her?" I thought, you know what? There's an issue here. You've got to speak louder and clearer to be heard. And I even saw another example recently in a bank. I was lodging a check and the bank teller had a mask on. He had a plastic screen in front of him and I had a mask on and I went, this is dreadful. I can't make out a word you're saying to me. And I really had to listen quite carefully to what he said before I understood what he meant.
It's amazing. We don't, as you say, the noise being blocked, but then we misplace or misjudge how much reliance we put on reading people's facial expressions.
Body language is the key in any sales message because the spoken word is very much down the pecking order. Body language is key, and you lose that with face masks. So that's probably the one big difference we've seen as a business overall with COVID-19.
Incredible. And of course you've mentioned online a few times in our chat today, and obviously we're very passionate about online and measuring user experience on websites. But obviously reviews are a big part of that online now as well.
Reviews are massive. We're very lucky at Insight6. We have a affiliate company called the Development Crew, and they write all our programs for us. So all of our programs we have are bespoke. They're designed by us in-house and they're unique to ourselves. We don't offer them to anybody else in terms of, I had an approach to buy one of our systems in Northern Ireland and it wasn't allowed by my contract. So our systems are good in that sense and they can be finely tuned and tweaked to the needs of the customer. But during COVID, we have had time to work on a new program. We've had it in the background for a while and running on a lesser level, and we called it Feedback Direct. And we have dropped that for a rebranding of Instant Insight. And Instant Insight has been really fine-tuned during COVID because the development crew have had time to work on this. This is now a tool where businesses can capture feedback from their client in real time, but not just that. It gives them a couple of add-ons. It gives them a net promoter score. It also gives them a benchmark to measure themselves against their competitors. They can see how they work in their competitive marketplace against a like-for-like business. And then finally, it drives reviews online. What it can do is it can if someone gives feedback, if the feedback is of a high quality, the system segments the feedback and the highest quality automatically opens up a window to copy and paste into Google Reviews or TripAdvisor or Trustpilot. Our clients can decide where they want the reviews to go. So it automatically opens up the window to copy and paste into these sites. Now it means the client keeps the 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star review on their dashboard. They can action those and they can deliver on those, but the 5 stars can go public. And that's where you can drive your Google reviews or your TripAdvisor reviews. And I've met a hotel manager in Belfast past couple of weeks, bumped into him. We're both wearing our face masks, got a quick chat. I said, by the way, I need to chat to you. We have a new system coming out that will help you drive your 5-star reviews. I explained to him what I've just explained to you. And he looked at me and says, I don't know how you do that, but I want to talk to you about it. So there was intrigue there, and I was really only dangling the carrot to see what sort of how he took the bait, and he was intrigued.
No, and reviews are so important today. It's
Huge. Well, I think in terms of Google reviews, when a business has Google My Business in place, that's where the Google reviews sit. That can account for up to 34% of how Google analyse their website for an SEO ranking.
Exactly.
That's how important it is.
I know, and we see there's a Google campaign now.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, we've had Anthony Joshua, we've had Sheridan Smith advertising Google reviews on TV. So our timing has just been perfect on this.
It's incredible when you see that. When you see them writing Google reviews, you know you're a good company.
We've actually had our systems on trial in London, in quite a few firms who we work with, and they were the prototypes of it, and they've driven their Google reviews by their 5-star Google reviews by up to 80% growth.
No, and people now with the drive online to do everything.
Correct.
The first thing people see or want to see is the reviews.
Correct. How
good is this business?
Correct.
Actually, we had a call from Dublin this week, and the person said, "Yeah, I seen the website, checked out your reviews, and picked up the phone." So it's, every time it's enough said. So we're both converted.
We are. We absolutely yes.
Amazing. So you see basically the future. For any business that wants to grow and to build out the strategy, customer experience, no matter what format it is.
There obviously, we look at that in terms of Insight6. We look at that, so we have 6 tools in our toolbox, and we have the customer experience measurement is a key starting ground, and we have the training we do in the back of that. Then we do focus groups, which are key to help businesses understand the thought process of their customers. We do business mentoring and coaching of staff who need our extra help to drive them forward on a one-to-one basis. We also do journey mapping, and journey mapping takes people through the touch point of every touch point on that journey from start to finish to understand what can go wrong, what they do well, but also what they do wrong and what they can do right. And the other tool we have in our toolkit, we really have alluded to already, and that is the Instant Insight. We have this feedback tool, and we have that aligned to a survey system. And to be fair, during COVID, I've done more surveys for clients than I've done in the last 6 years. So it's a very simple survey system. It's bespoke to us, and it's very much hands-on. Some of the survey tools you can get out there are very much sort of build your own survey and do it your own way. And if you make mistakes, it's your problem. We build them for you. We put them through a quality control process before they go live, and then they go out to your clients. And we find, I did one last month for a golf club in Northern Ireland, and it had a 70% compliance rate, which is phenomenal. Some of our competitors are sitting in around 14% compliance rate. So our surveys are good, they're kept simple and easy to use and easy to utilise.
Incredible. So this is the secret for our growth now going forward the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
Is customer experience. So
Correct.
Again, that's amazing. Thank you again for coming in today and sharing some insights
Thank you very much.
customer experience. So if anyone's watching this, they want to connect with you, find out more about the services and offer, what's the best way for them to do that?
Insight6.com is our website, or my email address, david.anderson@insight6.com.
Amazing. Again, David, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ciaran.
Excellent. And thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, learned loads about customer experience. Check out the links below the video, and of course, please share on social media and tag some of your colleagues. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.